Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Joanna Whitaker, and I'm with the National American Indian Alaska Native Head Start Collaboration Office. I'm here with my colleagues, Mike Richardson and Pam Carter, to talk a little bit about the work we do with tribal nations.
Kia michim kiho mahasubana. Te unwo, Mike Richardson, Makila Kiwa. My name is Mike Richardson, the National American and Alaska Native Head Start Collaboration Director from the Hawasaponi Tribe. And I'm here to hopefully share some things.
Yeah, and my name is Pam Carter. I am Lumbee of North Carolina, and I work with the National Institute for Work and Learning, do some evaluation work with our tribes.
Yeah, so one of the things that we work with tribes on in FHI 360 is community building and developing relationships to help them be successful in their endeavors. So how do you view, Mike and Pam, some of the work we're doing with the tribes in this area?
Well, the first thing is always that relationship building. Mm-hmm. So we always start out by first establishing, meeting the people, the tribal people, the tribal leaders, whether if we're working with the Head Start program at the Head Start level or whoever, and everybody's tied into that particular tribe, the community as a whole, to establish a relationship with them. That relationship is going to make the difference of whether they would want to work with us or not. And we work through, do a lot of language revitalization work as well as working within the cultures itself, establishing those things, and that helps build that relationship with them and establishes that trust. So that's one of the things that we start with, because nothing we do can be done without that relationship being established with us. And we do that directly with them so they know who we are and how we can best support them from their viewpoint, from their perspective, and not so much from ours.
Yeah, I think that's probably the big difference there is it does take a different approach than when we work with some of our other clients, right? So, it is getting in, figuring out, it's just a good way of doing practice, period, but getting in and knowing who they are, giving them that opportunity to be the lead, because they are the lead, and say, we just go in and say, how can we help, and what does that look like? And we bring in the capacity in different ways to be able to assist them in whatever it is they're doing, right? But at a different level, not us just going in and doing it for them. It's like having that long conversation, that total understanding of what it is that they want, and then saying, is this something that might help you? Can we help you and assist you get to that place? I think that's kind of the important part.
Yeah, and that's the key thing, is asking, what do you want?
Yeah.
And how can we support you from your perspective and what you want, not so much from ours, but if we're establishing that relationship, we're supporting them in any of their endeavors, then we're starting with, what do you want first, which is one of the things that most people don't ask the tribal programs, is they come up with ideals, but they're not asking. And I think that's one of the things here in FH 360 is that we work very hard to be able to establish those relationships, and doing it from working from their perspective, and finding ways to help support their mentality and their way of looking at things through the language and culture aspect, as well as understanding the environment that they're in themselves.
The thing is, a lot of these communities, they're doing the work, right? Yeah. We're just there to help them make the connections they need to make. And it takes a long time to develop those relationships and a lot of trust. Because how long have you been doing this for? You've been doing this for a long time.
It's pretty much a lifetime.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's been a lifetime endeavor, yes.
Yeah.
And it's really, I'm always learning. Every program I work with, every tribe I work with, I'm always learning. And we start out just by having conversations with the people and just letting them get to know us from the start, and then finding out exactly what their perspective is. And like with our partnerships, with NIA, the National Indian Education Association, and working through the education side is all about the decolonization of how do we do it from our perspective? How do we bring in our language and culture and let that be the basis for everything else, the foundation for everything we build and offer, and working from there.
We've talked about this before, Mike, where it's almost as if, well, we've established these relationships and we know how to do it, but every one of them's a little different,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's an important piece to keep in mind, too.
Yes, whether we're working in the Southwest, whether we're working in, the West Coast, the Plains area, the Minnesota, Wisconsin, in the Ojibwe territories, or the East Coast, everybody is different. And then even that, if we're working with one Pueblo, it's going to be different than it's working with the Pueblos right next door to them.
Yep.
And understanding those differences and learning to support that and to find ways to work within that to support them in what they're doing through their way of doing things has been very important for us.
Some of the community building you've done, Pam, is with youth. Is that correct?
Yeah. Which kind of starts with the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still have to get to the community, and you start with the elders in the community. You start with the leaders in the community and say, what is it that you want? And then you work in to the kids, and you also want to know what it is they want, because they're raised to listen to elders and to do what they're told, right?
Yep.
So a lot of that is going back and making sure you're culturally responsive, and understanding what it is that the community wants you to do with the kids. You know, why do they have you there? You know, and then you've had that understanding before you actually do any of the work. But we do some work around youth leadership, providing some different aspects of how to help them be more confident, and to bring out themselves, and to teach them how to become leaders within their communities. Or sometimes it's just helping them understand what it is they want to be when they grow up, and helping them with thinking about school and staying in school sort of thing. So yeah, we do a lot of that. And then some of the other work that we do is around the evaluation piece, and we've had a lot of conversations around that, of how that's kind of a tough topic for us to think through, because just as with other pieces, there's a different way of thinking. It's just getting in and figuring out what that means. And sometimes a number or an academic score may not be the most important point. It's an important point, but there's something else out there. And it's going back to say, what is it that you want out of this?
Exactly.
You know, how can we help you assess whatever it is that you need to move you forward and to progress your community, your culture, your language?
And one of the things that we take pride in here is that we first want to establish that what are you going to receive? What are you going to get out of this yourselves? This is for you, and it's about you. So what are you going to get from us? Not so much what we're going to get, but what are you going to get from it? And I think that has been a difference in our approach to our tribal programs. Has been very different from a lot, because we want to go about it from a Native perspective. That's what it's all about. That's how we support our communities. And it really begins with the language and culture aspects, and understanding that area, and building from that. It makes for a very strong foundation for the program, as well as for us to work through. As we continue to add partnerships, I think that's a strong thing, and knowing who to work with and how to work with them is going to bring the best perspective.
Exactly.
And understanding our role in that.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Understanding our role is a huge thing.
Yeah, and I know the trust that has been built, some of the tribal leaders are even coming back and reaching out to you at this point, like saying, we need some assistance with this. We have this vision. How can you help us implement that? Which is key to the relationship building and the community building. Well, thank you both for sharing your insights with us about how we are working with tribal nations at FHI 360. And thank you to all of you for sharing your time with us.
Hula hook.